Joining me now is Oregon Democratic Senator Jeff Merkley. He sits on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Senator, what do you think of the president today saying that he would be honored to meet with Kim Jong-un?
Well, Katie, I was very disturbed by his use of the phrase honored, but I'm also disturbed by the policy whiplash. One moment, it's U.S. may act alone if necessary. The next, it's going to the UN for maximum economic pressure. Then it's saying that President Xi will be a big partner. There's massive space for miscommunication that can cause events to spiral out of control.
Do you think it's a good idea, though, for him to try and meet with this leader? After all, the Obama administration did make deals with controversial leaders. I'm looking at the Iran deal, relations with Cuba. They initially tried to reset relations with Russia. Wouldn't it be a good idea at this point to try and talk to the North Korean leader?
The groundwork has not been laid for a head of state meeting, not even close. And I think the president was right and Tillerson was right earlier when they made it very clear that that was something to be considered in the far future after other events had been put into place. But right now, if North Korea is looking at this set of comments and they're thinking about potential for negotiations or conversations, their actions may be very different than if they're thinking about the possibility of an American military response. And this is where the possibility of miscommunication, sending signals that are confusing, could cause a situation that's very precarious to end up in a disaster.
Senator Merkley, what would you advocate? Would you advocate the harder line, or would you advocate taking a softer line to try to talk to him?
I do think it's right to have China apply maximum pressure. China is the one that controls the border with North Korea. They're the ones that can shut down the smuggling. They're the ones who can enforce the sanctions. They're the ones who can send the communication, not just through the China Daily, which they have done, saying that North Korea has to end its nuclear provocations, but they can send that signal privately and forcefully as well. So that is a key piece of this puzzle. I'm not privy to really the details of how much we believe China is going to play that role, but certainly that is a key component in making the sanctions effective.
In other news, President Trump told Bloomberg today that he's considering breaking up the banks, looking into a 21st century Glass-Steagall. Is that an area where you can find common ground with the president?
Yeah, I think that's very possible we can find common ground. We need to make sure we don't return to the Wall Street casino that made big bets on derivatives with deposits, with American citizens' deposits. That was a highly precarious place to be. If you want to make those kinds of bets, you should be in a wealth management fund, not in a bank. That was the point of the Volcker Rule that I championed with Senator Carl Levin, former Senator Carl Levin. But I think the clarity of a 20th century Glass-Steagall or 21st century Glass-Steagall would be very useful.
Are you going to be reaching out to the White House to try and work with them on something like that?
I certainly, I think I will. Yes, Katie.
On health care, it seems like the House is coming closer to reaching a deal. If it makes it to the Senate, what are your red lines?
Well, the deal the House is putting together is taking an incredibly terrible strategy and making it far worse. You start with the 24 million people losing health care, and then you throw in that the president's now apparently prepared to break his promise on pre-existing condition, and furthermore, willing to eviscerate the essential benefits package. So what you end up with are insurance policies that may be very cheap because they're very worthless. And that is not a health care system. That is a return to a situation where people don't have access to health care, don't have the peace of mind they're going to get the care they need when they get sick, don't have the peace of mind that they're not going to end up in bankruptcy. So I think that this plan, if it passes the House, it'll be dead on arrival over here at the Senate. I don't see my colleagues coming close to it. I've been out in 13 town halls in Republican counties in Oregon. Overwhelmingly, 90% of the people in these Republican counties are coming out and saying, do not do this.
Your Republican colleagues won't sign on?
Well, I think they're going to be, I think they would much prefer this dies in the House. I'll put it that way. I'm sure their arms will be twisted, their legs will be broken, but I don't see a situation in which they are going to pass this through to the Oval Office.
Senator Merkley, thank you.
I'm certainly going to try to prevent them from doing so.
Senator Merkley, thank you very much.